Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Directions Mag Geospatial webinar, sponsored today by our friends at Hexagon. I'm Barbary Duke, Managing Editor at Directions Magazine, joined by our assistant webinar producer, Lynette Qualia. If you have any questions about your connections, just drop us a note in the chat. We'll do our best to help you. We encourage you to read our feature articles, daily news, and of course, watch more webinars, always free for geospatial professionals at directionsmag.com. We're standing by to take your questions anytime during the webinar. Type those into the question box at any time, and we'll do our best to get to as many as we can during Q&A today. Also, if you see something you like on the screen, click the camera button. We are recording today's webinar, so keep an eye on your inbox in the coming days for that email with links, as well as a link to a certificate of attendance. And we appreciate your opinions on our poll and post-webinar survey. We are thrilled to welcome back Harris Eisenberg and Michael Turner from Thermopylae, joined by Kyle Campbell at Google. And they have some great suggestions for you to turn your data into results for your organization. Welcome back, gentlemen. We are thrilled to have you with us today and looking forward to learning more. So, Kyle, I'm going to hand it over to you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining. My name is Kyle Campbell. I'm a partner sales manager here at Google, and it's my pleasure to introduce my good friends at Thermopylae Science and Technology. Thermopylae has been a Google partner for well over a decade. Originally, they focused providing Google solutions to the U.S. government and the Department of Defense. They've evolved to become one of our largest and most important partners. They engage with customers from a technical standpoint, providing consulting, optimization, and engineering support as part of their standard account management model. I have had the pleasure of working with them for the past 8 years while here at Google in multiple capacities and have grown to know them and their team very well. In managing their Maps partnership here with Google, they're one of my most strategically aligned partners, always working on behalf of their customers. I'll go ahead and pass the baton to my friends at T Sciences and hope you enjoy the webinar.
Great, thanks, Kyle. Really appreciate you giving us that warm intro. Good afternoon. My name is Harris Eisenberg. I'm the president at Thermopylae Sciences and Technology. More in a moment about how Hexagon fits in. So first, thanks everybody for attending. Hope you're all doing well and that everybody's healthy. A little bit of background. I've been with the company since 2010, and I've been running our partnership with Google for that entire time, so just over 10 years, and I oversee all operations at Thermopylae. We have over 400 private sector and government customers using Google technologies, and most recently we were acquired by Hexagon just over a year ago. With me today is also Michael Turner, another veteran of the Google ecosystem. So not only has Michael been working with Google for over a decade, but he has a rich background in GIS, geospatial application development, and data science. Michael's our lead data scientist for Google Technologies at Thermopylae, where he basically lives and breathes details on customer usage every single day, pulling out insights and initiatives to help better help our customers be more effective with their use of Google technology. So first, we want to do a quick poll. See who's currently using Google technology, Maps platform, and Places API. Really love to see the information here as it will guide our presentation.
So let's look at these results real quickly. 48% are using Google Maps platform, about 10% of them using the Places API, and a fair number of folks that aren't sure. So perhaps they're in the right place to learn more.
Excellent. I'm glad we included that. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad we included that not sure category. I had a feeling there'd be quite a few people that might not know. So great, that's very helpful. Thank you all for answering that question. So for those not familiar, Hexagon is a global technology company, mostly focusing on geospatial and autonomous technologies, including sensor hardware. It's got 8 divisions operating across the world: hardware, software, safety and infrastructure, manufacturing, intelligence. Some of these brands here are ones that you might recognize. They're all part of the Hexagon family. Leica makes some of the best sensors in the world. Intergraph and and Erdos are huge players in the geospatial field that you may have come across. Hexagon felt that we were a great fit for their organization, particularly because of our Google partnership and the data that Google offers and our understanding of the implementations of it was a huge complement to Hexagon's geospatial software tools. So now that we're part of that family, Thermopylae focuses on delivering access to and solutions around Google Tech for the private sector, as well as the Department of Defense. The majority of our staff are engineers, and we have a pretty unique relationship with Google where we are a partner, but we have also been on contract with them for years providing engineering services, and that gives us a very unique outlook on their capabilities. So my portion for today's webinar is going to take us through a brief introduction of our topic areas, and then I'm going to hand things over to Michael for a deeper dive into places. So first, let's cover a high-level overview of the Google Cloud ecosystem. So what is Google Cloud? We usually refer to it as GCP. It's a set of physical assets, computers, hard drives, and virtual resources like virtual machines and software that are located in Google data centers worldwide. These are all connected together by one of the world's largest network infrastructures. So in cloud computing, as most of you probably know, what you thought of as software and hardware products now become services. Here we have just some of the services created and maintained by Google. Constant innovation on their side produces massively innovative releases throughout the year. This is a small part of GCP services. The list of available GCP services is very, very long and continues to grow. To develop a site or application in GCP and with Google Maps, you group these services together in combinations that provide the necessary infrastructure, and then you add your code to create the desired scenario. So while Google Cloud provides the infrastructure, development, and the processing of applications, Google Maps provides local data content and the ability for customers to create powerful location-based applications. This intersection is what makes our offering so unique and attractive compared to other mapping providers. So for a moment, let's talk about the unique benefits that Maps and Cloud offer. So for example, with BigQuery, Cloud SQL, and Bigtable, you can use and store your vector data, petabytes of information, and perform complex spatial analysis, including employing machine learning on that data. Things like IoT Core, which is a device management service on the cloud. It provides easy integration with IoT and asset tracking. So a tracker that you have in your truck, car, or even packages or shipping containers can be processed through there. Machine learning, if let's say you have a fleet of vehicles, you can train machine learning algorithms to detect abnormal driving behavior while on the job while you are tracking those over a Google Map. So these services and many others are available in the Google Cloud, and they are the same tools that Google uses itself to create their own products. So imagine the power you have in your hand to create your own application. Now let's talk specifically about Google Maps platform for a moment. Also known as GMP, it's essentially the enterprise version of consumer Google Maps. It's all those capabilities that you would use as a regular consumer using the Google Maps app, broken into a series of APIs or application processing interfaces, each with its own distinct capability. Previously, this was known as something called Google Maps Premium Plan, but between 2018 and 2020, it represented a lot of change for that tool set where it evolved into what's now called Google Maps Platform. In addition to just the name change, the capability went from a series of a la carte annual 12-month contracts to a more cloud-friendly, business-friendly, pay-as-you-go service. So what that means is that when you use GMP, you're now only paying for what you use, and it's trued up monthly. In addition to that, the first $200 of usage every month is free, which a lot of you have probably experienced if you're already using the service. But that's perfect for experimentation and testing. You can do a whole lot of development with that $200 a month without incurring cost. And as a Google Maps partner, we're able to offer our customers volume tier discounts for those that have heavy usage. So in Maps, there are essentially three core products: Maps, Routes, and Places. Maps brings the real world to your users with customized maps and street view imagery. Routes helps users find the best way to get from point A to point Z with comprehensive data and real-time traffic. And Places, which is our topic for today, helps users discover the world with rich location data from over 150 million different points of interest, and enables them to find specific places using things like phone numbers, real-time signals, addresses, and things like that. So we are going to dig into Places a little bit, which some would say is Google Maps' most valuable asset. I kind of agree with that assessment, but it also is one of Google Maps' more complex offerings. So originally introduced in 2010, Google Places is Google's incredibly massive point of interest, or POI, database. It features 150 million different places, over 28 million updates every single day, and over 1 billion monthly active users. I don't think there's another mapping platform on the planet that comes even close to this. But before I hand things over to Michael, I want to cover a brief overview of what Google Places is, its main capabilities, and where the data comes from. Rich data. Google has the largest and richest POI database on the planet. It's primarily built from their consumer maps app. They have 60 million contributors known as local guides that are all around the world, who are constantly adding over 20 million contributions per day, things like reviews, star ratings, photos, descriptions, all sorts of different data points to the Places data. So you can count on accurate, reliable, constantly updated information. In addition to the local guides, there's a tool called Google My Business, and that is contributions made by local, national, and multinational businesses and municipalities whose data contributions also make their way into the Places database. Places includes really rich data on things like location names, addresses, user ratings, reviews, contact information, and atmosphere, helping users explore the entire world around them. The Places also helps users explore the world around them. With Google Maps Places, you can provide users with location names, addresses, ratings, reviews, contact information, all that stuff that I said earlier. That community that I mentioned of 60 million local guides making those 20 million contributions per day, they're also adding more than 700,000 new places to Google Maps every month. So when a new business comes up online, a new building is built, a new neighborhood is constructed, you can count on accurate, reliable, constantly updated information. And then in terms of finding specific places, there are all sorts of ways to introduce this into your workflow. You can turn phone numbers, addresses, names, locations into places. You can convert addresses to geographic coordinates, or the reverse. The incredibly flexible nature of Places offers links to all of these data fields together, giving you really incredible access to all different types of search capabilities to return exactly what your users are searching for. And Places is not just the points of interest on the map. It's the address finding, it's location autocomplete, it's all the rich information about a place. All of this is available through the APIs that are part of Google Maps platform. Now, to discuss more about those APIs, including how to use them and some implementation guidance and some guidelines, I'm going to pass things over to Michael, and he is going to dive a whole lot deeper than I just did. So, Michael?
Thanks very much, Harris. Want to dive right in and start narrowing the topics from the great broad overview Harris gave, and dig into a couple of topics, starting with where do these data come from? And Harris described some of it, local guides, the My Business program, but essentially Google spends huge amounts of money building this database and maintaining this database, and the brunt of it is original data collection that comes from Google staff or partners. The My Business program is really important. Businesses understand how important Google search is and are incentivized to give Google the best information about their business and when they open and close, etc. Google, of course, has lots of people on their platform searching for different businesses, and when people start searching for something that's maybe not in Places, they can detect that a new business has been created and go out and find it. And then finally, Google is driving their Street View cars all over the world, and those cars have gotten ever better cameras. And at the same time, Google has developed leading machine learning technology for reading what's in images, including things like the street number that might be on the door, and even the opening and closed hours, much less the name of the business, and leverages all of those tools to create this great points of interest database. As Harris said, there's a whole bunch of different APIs within Places. Places API, the time zone API, the geocoding API, the Places library, geolocation API, and the Places SDK for Android and iOS. We're going to focus on the Places API and the Places library for the remainder of this session. But very quickly, time zone is, give me a coordinate, I'll tell you what time zone you're in. Geocoding supports both giving it a lat long, and it will tell you the address, reverse geocoding, as well as forward geocoding. Just give it an address and it will give you the lat long. And then the geolocation API is a series of tools for finding your location when your GPS on your device is not accurate. It can either use technology for what Wi-Fi network you're connected to, or cell phone tower triangulation, and then just mobile software development kits. So wanted to jump in very quickly with 3 use cases that show the kinds of things businesses are doing with Places. All of these sites are customers of ours, and all of what you're seeing is public facing. You can hop on their websites and see exactly what I'm showing you. So the first one is Creditone, which is a credit card company. And the only thing they do with Places is autocomplete, which is the action of typing in some characters and having Google predict what you're typing in and convert it into an address or the name of a business. I'm using my own home here, and in 5, 6, 7 characters, it's predicted exactly where I live, 16 Columbus Ave, Beverly, Massachusetts. And this gives customers 2 huge benefits. First, it's a better user experience, less typing for people, less opportunity for those people to make mistakes and have typos in what they're typing. And some websites you go into and you type your address and it'll come back and say, I cannot find your address. And it can get very frustrating and people abandon their shopping cart or whatever they're doing. The other thing that's very beneficial to businesses is when you pick an address through the Places API, it's delivered to you in a very standard way. The number, the street name, the prefix are all in very standard ways. Same with the state abbreviations and the like. So it's a better user experience, more consistent data. And this customer is doing about over 500,000 API calls, not a single map on their website, just this form. Mozilla is a small company online that is designed to get you airport transport wherever you may be going. I had the luck to go to a conference in Tanzania in 2018, and I literally did this search. I was like, okay, where is the airport in Dar es Salaam? And I typed in just the name of the city down here, and it picked the airport was the first thing. I clicked on it, I'm done, and I knew the name of my hotel, and I typed in 5 or 6 characters that found the hotel. And then Mozilla connects you to the different kinds of suppliers of airport transport, and then shows you a map with the airport location at the start of your journey and the hotel location at the end of your journey. And you can shop, the search result comes back with many different options, and you pick the one that fits your price point, etc. And the one other thing about this that you can see is Mozilla is using custom styling. It's not the traditional Google map with the yellow roads and things like that. They have a blue tone that matches their website. Again, a nice capability within the Google Maps APIs. And then the last one is SpaHero, which is a mobile app for finding parking, and they use a wide variety of Google's APIs. They use Places autocomplete for where the parking is located. They use Places API to show details such as the star ratings that are with Google Places. They also use distance matrix to find the nearest parking lots to where your current location is, and then they present a nice map using the Maps API. So I'm going to move pretty quickly and just dive into some of the details. Extremely rich data, accurate locations, rich attributes, and it's very unique content. Places and Street View are two of the data assets within Google Maps that are really, there is no peer in terms of the quality of the information and the content of the information. No one has Street View in 100-something countries. No one has close to 150 million points with the array of data attached to those points. And because it's so valuable and unique, it is priced accordingly. Thus, it's very important to implement carefully and efficiently and know how to be cost effective. When we talk about the richness of the attribute content, this is just a page from Google's documentation. The information is broken into 3 kinds of information: the basic information, the address, the geometry, the location, photos, the names of the places, IDs, etc. And then there's more detailed information, the contact, which includes the phone number, opening hours, the website, and then the atmosphere, which includes the price level of the restaurant or whatever you've chosen, the rating, and the review. And as you can imagine, getting all 3 is more expensive than just getting the basic. And again, the indicator of the richness of the data, there are over 95 different place types. This is the list again from the documentation. Things as specific as embassies and storage facilities, all different kinds of houses of worship, and so on and so on. And you can do all kinds of things with that. You can find any one place type or any group of place types, or you can find the closest of a specific type to where you are, and you can also use unique symbols for any of these places. You know, make the electronics store have be a lightning bolt, or in the case of Eater, where they've picked restaurants and make them these big bold red pins. And the Places API is not static. There's dynamic data curation, and we've seen this very actively in the time of COVID. On May 12th, there was this blog saying that temporary closures are now available in the Places API. Again, some information from this blog post. And again, they say, where does this data come from? Businesses themselves have told Google whether they're open or closed temporarily or permanently. And they've also used the My Business program, which has collected this information. And then the documentation has been updated. So now it says permanently closed has been deprecated. Instead, we have business status, which has operational closed temporarily, closed permanently. It's an inherently complex product, so the documentation is very important, and there's very good documentation at the developer level, hundreds of pages. But you have to do your homework, know your use case, and also, to the extent possible, know the behavioral details of your users. So I'm going to quickly cover 2 challenges that we commonly see. When people migrated from the old premium plan, Google, to the new Google Maps platform, basic, contact, and atmosphere data types were introduced for the first time. And the default in migration was you got all 3 of them. But that's the most expensive call. You can specify that you only want basic, and that will save you money. But you basically, in your code, have to turn on the switch that says basic only. So that's a very important thing to understand and look at in your code when you're migrating. The other one is they've introduced autocomplete sessions. It used to be you just paid by the keystroke. How many strokes do I have to type until it finds 16 Columbus Avenue? But now they have the sessions, which mean you can have almost unlimited numbers of keystrokes for the same price. But it's very complicated to implement the sessions properly. And as this screenshot from an actual customer's usage shows, there are 6 different places SKUs, places API products that are working in orchestration to be most efficient. And so you just, again, you have to look up the best practices. And again, it's the kind of thing that partners like T-Sciences can help with if you're going into it for the first time. Why optimize? Basically, to save money and to have better performance efficiency of your code. You want to look at your consumption, and you want to look at cost patterns, but also usage patterns, and getting the right mix of calls and the different products is critical to having an efficient implementation, and being aware of and implementing the best practices. These are some monitoring tools and dashboards we provide to our customers. And you can see in this middle chart, this is actual usage. And this is one of our customers, purple and orange are places. They used a lot of places. And then at kind of the start of the COVID era, they switched to use much more static maps, the mustard colored bar chart, and much less places. And although they are continuing to use it, and it helped make themselves more cost efficient. And the other thing to notice is this chart in the middle is usage, and this chart in the bottom is cost. And so cost does not necessarily follow the number of calls. It depends a lot on how much each call costs. So I'm going to just wrap up in the next 2 minutes and introduce something new. Google has announced that they are releasing something called local context. It's currently in beta testing, and we hope very much it'll be in production by the end of the year. And very simply, what they're adding is a new API called local context that's session-based and gives you the same experience you have in public user Google Maps, where you see lots of places near where you are. And again, in your app, inside your own website, you can now specify a location, your hotel perhaps, and show a variety of places that are nearby and available to your users. And you can search only certain types of places near your unit. You can enable or not pictures of all the places as part of the widget. And also you can limit how many places will show up in the radius that you specify. And again, it's price per session is one experience. It aligns with how you want to provide your user experience and how you measure the success of your users interacting with your website. And it's easier to implement and maintain. So I'm going to just skip through so we have a couple minutes for questions. But at the end of the day, with the Places local context, you'll have your own branded website with your own map that looks and behaves more like Google's public map that everyone is used to interacting with and gets value out of. So with that, just conclusions. Places are unique and valuable. It's premium data content that you can leverage into your own website and apps. It's not just the points of interest itself. It's a suite of capabilities, including geocoding and autocomplete, time zone, etc. It's a complicated API. It can be challenging to implement efficiently, but there are best practices out there to help you optimize. And finally, Google continues to actively invest in Places content and capability, as we saw with the COVID example. So with that, thanks for your time, and hopefully we have a couple of questions.
Yeah, so thank you so much. We do have a couple of questions we'll squeeze in here before we let folks go. Question number one, can we use the Google Maps API in the M App Enterprise as a native map?
That's a very good question. So for those that don't know, Map Enterprise is a Hexagon geospatial tool that has a few iterations, MapX and a few others. Our division, still new to Hexagon, is still learning all the places of integration and learning about the products. Michael, I don't know if you have a good answer for this, but I would say that I don't want to comment on future product capabilities on this. It's not my place to do so. So we could certainly take a longer discussion offline. But as of right now, there are some ways that a Google Maps API key can be implemented in the Map Enterprise product. But to do so, you need to be very careful as to not violate Google's terms of service. This is a whole complicated thing, which is why I'm saying it might be better to take it offline. But the short answer is yes, it's technically possible, but we would want to carefully advise on how to do that for right now.
Sure, that's good advice. Have to be careful about those terms.
Absolutely.
Could they use places within something like a business intelligence tool to provide data on the competition?
Oh, that's an excellent question. That's kind of a non-traditional use of places. You know, a lot of the things that Michael covered, a lot of those examples were about making the user experience easier, delivering data to the end user. But yeah, you could absolutely implement something like places for competitive intelligence inside a BI tool. You would probably want to use the richest calls to return back all sorts of information about a business category. But you could certainly pull a lot of really good information when researching a market or a competitor or a series of businesses in a specific area. I really like that use case, and is one of the I would say rarer B2B uses of places.
Cool. So let's look at maybe storing data locally. If they've generated something by accessing the Places API, can they then store that locally?
Again, as you said, there's very important terms of service to understand, and you cannot store data locally for the long term, but Google does allow caching of data for a finite period of time to expedite application performance, and typically it's a 30-day limit. So you can do it, but you need to refresh frequently.
Okay, we're going to try and squeeze in 3 more questions here, and because we're a little bit past our time, and we like to be respectful of folks. What is SKU?
Oh, sorry, that's basically just a product. It's I can't remember what it stands for, but we use that interchangeably with a product. So a SKU would be one of the places products that we went over. So
okay,
sorry for using the jargon.
Google has 3 tiers. They have an API family like the Places API, then they have individual APIs within that, like the geocoding API, and then they have individual products or calls within those APIs, like geocoding versus reverse geocoding. And so SKU is like just the product ID, but it's the finest level of grain at the call of the API.
Excellent. So how many of the 150 million point of interest locations are US based?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. I'm sure we could do some kind of segmentation call and see how much of it is in the US, but I would say a lot of it is, but it's a global database, so you're gonna get coverage from pretty much every place on the planet. I mean, they even have data from North Korea, so you've got full global coverage. I don't know exactly how much is US based though, but it's a lot. That's probably the richest, most detailed portion of the database.
Excellent. And one last question, how often does Google update the map data? Is it accurate enough to use as a sole map source in computer-aided dispatch?
Constantly is the answer. So map data is constantly updated every single day, 365 days a year. Individual data points, impossible to say how frequently an individual one is updated, a lot of that is based on user contribution. But with that many local guides out there, you can rest assured that if something does change with 60 million people reporting in, it's not going to be long before something is updated. And generally it's going to happen same day or within 24 to 48 hours. Is it accurate enough to use in computer-aided dispatch? Yes, certainly. We have a lot of customers that do that. There is a restriction on using Google Maps for like emergency services or something like that. So I would highly recommend against exploring that because it's not intended to be used for like police or fire or ambulance services or anything like that. But for dispatch for road crews or fleet management or anything like that, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Michael, if you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, a good example of Google's ongoing data curation at a daily level is if you go into public Google Maps in your town, in downtown, it will tell you what food places are open or closed, what food places are offering delivery or takeout. And that is their goal, is to keep it as accurate as possible. But as Harris said, in the emergency context, there is a disclaimer about using it in life or death situations, and it's more for context. For the context, if someone's saying something's happening at this store, you're going to find that store pretty quickly. But it's not incorporated into actual dispatching systems at a B2B level.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. Remember that the recording will be archived. You'll get an email from us with the link to view the webinar on demand, along with any resource links that we have today. Also, an attendance certificate will be in that email. We appreciate you completing the very brief survey on the way out. Special thanks again to Harris, Kyle, and Michael for sharing their expertise, and Catherine for your help with the logistics. We hope that you will make it a great day and tell a friend about Hexagon, Thermopylae, and Directions Magazine. Thanks, everybody.